Yes. It's going normally. Thank you.
And display will be all of them now.
Up to that point. This one. Um, I just want to see the latency. Um, the other thing we need to do a latency test. So before they start, there is an element here, so you will mirror. The normally audio and video are slightly out of sync, and in this software here, on audio, there is a there is a kind of yeah. So where is it? Let's see. Okay. Okay, so this one won't have. That one is on. Camera off. It's off.
around here, there are something like his one is not red. Check.
Oh, one for one. Okay, it's this one. There's no point.
There will be found them all. It will be found all the.
Yeah.
Page
Yeah,
okay.
it was a pain in the long.
All of that.
So can you just,
I can tell you what I feel. What, where can I make the test now? Shall I go in image and see how much you need to adjust it? Or no?
I think we're gonna do it when it does, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so
and welcome to Because. My name is Delia.
And Naz. And this week, we're going to be talking to you about London Fashion Week, which kicked off yesterday. So we're going to be covering the digital part of London Fashion Week that Naz and I have been going through, talking to you a little bit about the highs and lows and general impressions of what London Fashion Week this year is like, which is very, very different to usually like. Yeah, so
I mean, obviously, it's very different this year. Two of our editors are going to the shows and the appointments, but most of the shows you can see online, and designers are coming up with digital content. So how do you feel about London Fashion Week being online?
I think it's interesting. Like, obviously, during these times, everything has been so different, and a lot of the shows, I feel, in recent years, so much content has already moved online, moved to social media.
Yeah.
We've gotten so used to seeing our world through a digital lens that it doesn't feel as odd anymore, but really being, taking the whole live event experience away completely, I think makes it very different.
I know what you mean. I think, like you said, we've been building up to this. A lot of different brands and companies have been using video and the digital experience as kind of like a supplement. But like you said, when you actually take away the live experience, like being there in person, and you're left with only digital, I feel like that's when you start to see some of the negative points, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a lot harder to get your message across because there's so much thought that goes into how to present a collection, not just the clothes, but the show, the music, everything. Yeah. And with such a massive amount of digital content being put out every single day by so many different brands and people, it can get hard or a bit tricky for the message to still be heard and perceived in the way that you want it to be perceived.
I think even just on a different note, when I'm sat in front of the computer, I feel like, there's so many distractions around. I feel like less patient as well. I want to forward the video or rewind it. Someone can call you or your Wi-Fi connection can break up, and that really pulls you out of, what they are trying to convey. So like you said, you definitely lose some of the meaning behind the show.
Yeah, very true. Well, actually, yesterday, London Fashion Week Digital kicked off with the Burberry show, which was probably one of the most anticipated parts of London Fashion Week Digital. For the first time ever, Burberry has partnered up with Twitch, which is a streaming platform owned by Amazon, mainly used for game streaming. Yes. So it was very interesting to see how fashion is not only taking on digital as a medium, but also trying to break into these communities and existing platforms that have adopted this digital experience a very long time ago. How do you feel about this partnership?
I mean, I think that's kind of the way forward. We have all these platforms like Twitch and Patreon, and I think it would be kind of unwise, kind of foolish not to get into that. That's where people are watching, that's where people are engaging with content. Over lockdown, we saw a lot of IGTV and IG Lives where people really want to interact and leave comments. So I think it was a smart move, I would say.
I think so too. I think it remains to be seen whether fashion is ready to adopt, and vice versa, whether a platform like Twitch is ready to adopt luxury fashion as well. But even esports in general and gaming has become such a huge part of our culture that it's very hard to ignore at this point in time. So we're actually going to show you a little clip of the Burberry show that our team is going to set up right now. Going to show up on screen and going to let you experience the show with us. Okay, we have some slight technical issues. That's fine. Let's talk some more about it. So the show was streamed on Twitch, and it was hosted by 4 celebrities talking the audience through the show. How did you feel about their take on it? Did you think it was a good idea to have hosts on it, or was it too much interpretation? What do you feel?
I thought it was nice. I thought it was like slightly unnecessary. I don't think you needed it, but for people who really wanted to know more about what the show was going to be or what they were going to expect, or like to build excitement, I thought it was quite good. It was interesting to see, obviously, what like Bella Hadid or Steve Lacy were doing and their interpretation of the show. But yeah.
I think that we're ready to show the video now. Let's watch it together. From the Burberry show. To give you a little bit of background, Riccardo Tisci has created this show together with Anne Imhoff, who is a German choreographer and artist. Yeah. She does paintings. She does a lot of work with motion and performance art. So it was shot in the British countryside with no live audience, so only created for the live stream itself. How did you like this show?
Overall, I actually liked it. Like, there were definitely elements, you know, with the circle and kind of the guys like throwing their bodies forward and back. It was definitely very strange. Like, that was my first impression. I was just like, okay, this is interesting. But I liked it. I felt like they covered, obviously, the clothes, then you had the music, you had choreography. You could feel that there was a deeper meaning behind the collection, and obviously Riccardo's intention with it as well. I quite liked it, but what did you think?
Well, I really liked it. It was very chaotic, but I liked that about it. I think that looking through the entire show, the collection titled In Bloom was really trying to showcase that coming back into bloom, coming back to nature, finding back to ourselves. There was a lot of interpretations and a lot of references to water, to the ocean, to the ebb and flow of the water. And I feel like that very nicely ties back to what's going on right now as well, with all this uncertainty happening, and you know, there's just this up and down, and the whole performance feeling, I kind of feel like you could really get into the ebb and flow of the video while you watched it. It felt very much like you're inside of the experience.
And I think you have that contrast where, like you said, it was chaotic, and you had controlled elements like the models walking through and the guys in the background and the singing, but it also felt out of our control. And, you know, relevant to these times, we had to take a step back and just kind of let nature take its course. But yeah, I really like that element of it.
It's a very like beautiful interpretation of that, trying to take control of something otherwise uncontrollable, and the contrast between that like wild and then also very like harsh and settled. What did you think of the collection itself? Did you have any favorite pieces at all?
I liked it. I mean, I liked all the splashes of color. Like we saw a lot of blue, which is tying back to the ocean as well. I don't think I found a particular favorite just yet, but I definitely like the clothes with the blue, and then you also saw the orange too.
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, I personally am a big fan of the trench. I do love the Burberry trench. And it was beautiful to see as well, like bringing the water element back into it, which is such a fundamental part of what Thomas Burberry had in mind when he designed the trench, with the technical fabric of being the first water repellent fabric used in trench coats, and then sort of tying that back in with the jeans and the blue elements as well, I thought was like a very nice way to like bring it back and pay homage to the origins as well of the piece and of the brand itself.
Yeah.
All right, wonderful. So we're gonna next talk to you about Temperley London, who had their digital show this morning.
Yeah. So Temperley London, we've always been big fans of Alice Temperley because we've featured her on our like Working From Home series and our In Conversation With. If you don't know, her collections are very romantic and timeless, and you have this theme of like bohemianism coming in, like British bohemianism. So yeah, we're going to show you a bit of her collection this morning, and I think we have the clip ready to go. That's how most of them feel, actually.
Start fading out whenever you want.
So, what did you think?
I love Alice Temperley. I think it's so nice to see this sort of energetic vibe. It's romantic, but it's not too sweet, which I quite like.
There's like a bit of an edge.
Exactly. There's a bit of an edge to it. It's got this like wild livelihood to it as well.
Yeah.
It feels very much, which the collection is centered around as well, this idea of escapism.
Yeah.
But instead of it being a defeatist escapism, it feels very much like taking back,
taking ownership
of it, and trying to, you know, go with the times and with what's happening without trying to fight it, but also not being defeated by it.
Yeah, not
so
being
it had like
entirely pushed over.
Yeah, I feel like it had a very nice, strong message to kind of letting go as well, which I thought was nice.
That, and overall, I just thought it was really fun. You know, the model was kind of like letting go, and you saw like the hand movements, like dancing kind of throughout it. Obviously, the clothes are also really, really nice. You have that romantic vibe running through it, and like we said, there's a bit of like rebellion there, so that you can take ownership of what you're doing and your freedom, even if you've had to let go of some of it.
I love the late 60s references to it as well. I'm a big fan of
very romantic vibes. Yes,
yeah,
for sure. But yeah, that was Temperley, and then straight after Temperley, we saw Halpern. So Michael Halpern, he founded the brand, and he's originally from New York, but now he is London-based. And when we think of Halpern, we normally think of disco. So very like 60s, 70s. You see a lot of sequins.
Yeah,
a lot of sequins, a lot of embellishment, very unapologetically glamorous.
Speaking of unapologetic, everything right behind us, these balloons were the invitation to the Halpern show with their prints on them.
Very
which
in line with the
such a-
brand, just like out there.
Such a highlight during this time. Usually when we're in the office, to give you a little bit of background insight into this as well, we get these invitations coming in. Usually they're just letters, but sometimes the brands come up with these really fun, exciting things. There's flowers, there's balloons, so it's always like a very nice experience.
And it adds kind of like a physical element to the show, especially when you're just watching it online. Receiving something in person is always nice.
Yeah. All right, we have a bit of a clip for you as well from the Halpern video that we're going to play for you now.
I'm a night tube driver for London Underground on the Central Line. I think what I like the most about it is that like I'm doing something helpful. People are getting off the train. They're like, "Oh my gosh, you drove the train." I'm like, "Yeah, I did." Like, "Oh my God, thank you. You're so young." Like, "Is it hard?" Like, just a bit of recognition. It goes a long way.
I'm a Spanish nurse. I moved to London around 9 years ago. I found a job in intensive care at Homerton Hospital, and I've been working there since then. COVID really affected me. You don't realize when it's happening. You just go with your adrenaline. This is happening, and you just can't stop. My colleagues, they are my best friends, so it's like my little family. I don't have my parents here or my brothers, so they are my family.
Been a trains manager for 12 years now, and appreciative of the fact that I was around to give my services and help move London.
All right, so the Halpern video that we're viewing right now, that you guys started seeing a snippet with audio as well earlier, was shot with 8 key workers here based in London.
Yeah, so we had an obstetrician, we had a nurse, some TfL workers as well, and just across the public service sector. What did you think of it?
I mean, I really love it. The clothes are so happy, playful, fun, but also powerful and empowering.
Yeah.
And I thought it was so beautiful to see the key workers and these women dressed in these clothes and the way that they almost transformed as well. You know, I think that everyone's been talking about how, you know, grateful we all are and should be for the work that they're doing.
Yeah.
And I think it's really nice to give them a platform to also feel that empowerment through the clothes that they're wearing. And I think you could really feel in that video that these women were so proud to be representing
they were just like
their
happy,
jobs, you
having
know?
fun. I mean, I loved the orb dress.
Yeah.
You know, the big kind of like pink spherical one. I thought that was amazing. I thought it was really nice. I mean, they don't consider themselves heroes, but obviously in everyone else's eyes, we kind of see them as unsung heroes. And this just gave them a platform to really, I don't know, kind of honor the work that they've done and continue to do. I thought that was great.
Yeah, I think it was really nice. It kind of fit really well with the brand as well and the collection.
Yeah.
To have it be in a very celebratory tone. And I think during times like these, if you're going to have a very celebratory and fun collection, it makes a lot of sense for the people to wear it to be the ones that we are celebrating right now.
Of course. And I think, you know, behind a lot of Halpern's collections, he wants to make people, women, feel good. You know, if you're in scrubs all day or you're in your uniform all day, it's so easy to get kind of bogged down by the everyday, I don't know. Like fun, has sequins, embellishment. You just feel good at the end of the day. Right? I would, anyway.
All right. So for the last show coming up that we're going to talk to you about today, we have Preen. Talk to us about Preen, Naz.
So Preen is founded by a husband and wife duo. So we have Justin Thornton and Thea Bergazzi. And I think owing to the fact that it's a male and female duo, you do see a lot of masculine and feminine like tailoring. So you have this kind of push and pull, hard versus soft. I've always liked the kind of dark, angsty, romantic vibes of their dresses. But yeah, so that's kind of the vibe that they have going, and we're going to show you their clip. now.
Watch it all come. 'Cause you're the only girl I ever met who's honest. To sit around and dream you up above. Like to settle down with you and mess around the house on the hill. And I'm sitting here hoping it'll all come
Spring Summer 21 collection of Preen that we saw today.
Very dreamy, kind of utopia landscape vibes going on. When I first saw it, the first thing I thought was, you know, maybe this is life without COVID, or maybe this is how we'll be in spring, summer 2021. I felt like kind of an escape.
Yeah.
I feel like the other videos that we saw, you're quite aware of, you know, the current crisis and trying to escape it and gain some kind of freedom. But with Preen, it was all about a dream land, I felt.
Yeah,
what did you think?
Definitely. No, I think so too. I think it's so interesting going through all of these and other things that we've seen digital during Fashion Week as well. It's so interesting to see the interpretation of the current times and how different brands and different individuals are, or their take on it, really. And I think for me, the most interesting part was this recurring theme of nature, of getting back to nature, of the power of nature as well. Yeah. Some seeing it as an escapism where you fully go into this like fairy tale world of what nature can offer. Others having a more critical take on it, what we saw with Burberry, where you do have that return to nature, but you also have those very strong, hard lines that we saw with the men during the show, like all dressed in their black suits. Yeah. So it was very interesting for me to see that. I think this crisis has shown a lot of us that there's certain things that are out of our control, and creative reinterpretations of that loss of control in life have been very interestingly focused on nature a lot.
Yeah. I think it's about going back to our roots, you know, leading up to the crisis. You know, we have obviously a lot of technology and we're trying to curate every part of our lives and display every part of our lives on social media. But then the crisis happened and it kind of reminded us that, you know, not everything can be put into a calendar or a schedule. Like, it forced us just to take a step back and like kind of look at ourselves, reevaluate the world we live in, and I think most importantly, appreciate it again. So that goes back to the idea of like nature and just taking in your surroundings. I mean, quite literally, we can't travel, so you know, you have to appreciate what is around you, which I think is a really great message.
Definitely, I think so too, and I think that the idea of having to let go of this sort of controlled environment that we have built for ourselves is so interesting as well. And the way that a lot of these brands are dealing with it is actually bringing forth so much creativity and so much beauty in like a very rough, very tough time for everyone. It's a hopeful message for a lot of brands. It's a cynical one for some, but I think the sort of bigger picture of it is that a lot of them have come to terms with the fact that there's certain things that we can't really change, and going with the flow of what's happening in our times has been like a common theme.
Yeah, I think the clothes themselves are quite interesting to see from Preen. I felt like we saw more of the flirty feminine side rather than the kind of boyish suits and the tailoring. We saw that also with Temperley and I guess a little bit with Helper, and everything's kind of going back to florals and just fun and flirty. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so this was our Friday live stream on London Digital Fashion Week. And yeah, so basically, we're going to be back for you again with a new live stream on Tuesday, where we're going to be talking all things label mix. I'm actually wearing a dress from Caroline Issa's Label Mix collection, which you will hear a lot more about, plus other collaborators of the brand. So tune in next Tuesday for that. And then,
yes, and then we'll be back on Friday as well. So you can catch us on Wednesday and Friday, where we'll also be doing the similar thing as today. We'll be reviewing the Milan shows and taking you through some of the digital content so that you can tune in with us.
Right. Thank you everyone for tuning in.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.